Hello again. Now, in this series of videos, we're going to show you how to make a simple webcam game. And when you've learnt the simple components of it, you can go on and build something a little bit more extravagant than what I'm going to teach you. But this is going to involve a webcam. And the first thing that we need to do is to show you how you can fire your webcam up. Now, the blocks that we have over here don't include anything to do with the webcam, because the webcam block is actually an extension block. In the old Scratch 2 it was actually built in already, but in this version we have to click on this button down here, and we've got this one here that says video sensing. So I'm going to click on that, and you'll notice that I have appeared in the background over there. Now, there's a couple of things that are a problem here. Number one, cat's obscuring my beautiful face. And number two, it's a bit blurry, isn't it? So, first of all, we can get rid of the cat by hitting this little bin here. And look, there I am. I know you're thinking, goodness me, who is that? That looks a bit like Jason Statham, doesn't it? No, I'm afraid I'm not. But anyway, if you want to see me a bit more clearly, actually there's a simple way that we can do this. Over here on our buttons, if I click on the one that says Events, we have this button at the top that says when green flag is clicked. Now, the green flag is basically here, and when you want to start your game in Scratch, that's what you press. So I'm going to grab that one, and then I'm going to grab this one called Video Sensing over here. And you'll notice there's not very many options here, but one of them is set video transparency to 50. Now 50 is the default, and this is a percentage like 0 to 100. So I've always been a little bit surprised that Scratch puts the default as 50, which makes it a little bit on the blurry side. Now look what happens if I change video transparency to 0 and press the green flag. There I am in Technicolor beauty. Now some of you might be thinking, he's not really Jason Statham, nor does he actually look like Jason Statham. You'd be wrong, of course. I look very much like, I don't look anything like Jason Statham. It's just, we have similar hair because I'm very old and going bald. But let's get rid of me for a moment by setting that to 100, and we'll press play, and I've gone. So there we go. If you want to see the camera in its full glory, set the transparency to 0. And if you don't want to see whoever's in the background, set it to 100. I'm going to leave it at 100 for a moment because it is now time to set you a task to do. And that task is that I want you to introduce an object here that's going to appear randomly at the top of the screen. So the whole point of the game being is that I'm going to use my hands on the webcam to interact with the object that's going to drop. So the easiest one of all is to have like a football or a baseball or whatever it's going to be, and as it drops you flick it and it goes back up the screen. You can maybe count how many times that you flick the baseball up and down, the football or whatever it's going to be. Soccer ball if you're American and watching this. It's football really, because you know it's a game, it's a ball and you kick it with your feet. Football. Anyway, I'm not going to go down there, that route, because that will just upset people. Football, not soccer. Anyway, let's get another ball of some description. Now to do this, I'm going to head down to the bottom here where we've got choose a sprite, and I could draw one. There's lots of different options here. You can upload a sprite you can get from the internet, and if you watch some of the other videos I show you how to upload sprites, I show you what the surprise sprite does, I show you how to paint sprites. But I'm going to choose a sprite because I know in the library there are lots and lots of balls. Look, there's 3 there: ball, baseball, basketball, beach ball. I said 3, there's 4. And it goes on. So what I'm going to do is that I am going, oh, it's a flashing ball. Oh, does the baseball do anything? No. Does the basketball? No, it's the beach ball. I quite like the flashing ball. So I'm just going to click on ball here and it's going to appear here. Now, here's the task. What we want you to do is that we want you to make this ball appear at the top of the screen when the game starts. So something that I want to introduce you to. Over on the backdrops, I'm going to pick a particular backdrop, choose a backdrop, and I'm going to grab this one, which is going to be right down the bottom, and it's Cartesian coordinates, it's known as. Now you're probably thinking, what now? You may be familiar with an XY grid, but technically they're Cartesian coordinates. There's actually a few different XY grids, but I in particular like this one to explain things. The reason being, this is the x-axis and this is the y-axis. Now, let's have a look at this ball here. If the ball were to appear here, on the y-axis, if that's 0 on the y-axis and that's 180, you can see there y is 180, y is 0. So put the ball there, the ball is at x0, y0. Put the ball up there, the ball is let's try that again. The ball is at x0, y, well, if it was right on the edge of the screen, that would be 180. Maybe the middle of that ball's at y, I don't know, 170. But the whole point being is I want the ball to appear somewhere between here and here. So if I focus on this point here, that's x is 0, my apologies, y is 170. Over here, the ball is at x, that's 240 right on the edge. If that's 0 there, and that's 240 there, I'm guessing maybe 220. So the coordinate of this ball would be x 220, y 170. If I put it over here, the x would be 0 there, minus 240 there, or right, actually minus 240 is right on the edge of there, minus 220, and the y is again 170. The whole point being is that the x could be anything between minus 220 all the way to plus 220. But y is 170 there, it's 170 there, it's 170 there, it's 170 there, and it's 170 there. The y bit is not going to change. If you want to put the ball at the top, y is about 170. X could be anything from minus 220 to plus 220. So how do we do that? Well, that's the task that I'm going to leave you with a little challenge to do. So I'm going to explain the blocks that you're going to need, and then you're going to put it together. So every time you press that green flag, that ball is going to appear in a random position. So here are the blocks that you're going to need. Number one, if we go over to the left-hand side here, events you're going to need when a green flag is clicked. Number two, I think that ball is a bit on the big side. So I'm thinking that maybe in looks, we have the option down here to, well, do you know what? It's one of those two blocks. I'm not going to tell you which one. You can work it out. If it doesn't work properly for you, try the other one. It's one of those two. Okay, but I want you to, when you press the button, that ball is going to appear to be a bit on the smaller side, maybe half its size, something like that. But what I really want you to do is under motion, we have this option here that says go to X and Y. Now we know the Y is always going to be about 170, but we know the X needs to be a random number between minus 220 and plus 220. So where do we get a little block in here to put a random number? Well, if we head to operators, there's one there, pick random. And this can slot in. Oh, I've done it in the wrong one. Look at that, it can slot in there. All I've done, and always, by the way, always grab these blocks from the left-hand side. You'll see, look, where they can drop in. So, let's just remind ourselves. You want, when the green flag is clicked, to change the size of the ball. That was in looks. One of those two is going to do it. And then you need to set it so that it picks a random number for the X, somewhere between, I don't know, minus 220 and plus 220. But on the Y, it's 170. And you'll know that it works because every time you press that green flag, the ball will appear somewhere across the top in a random position. So that's it from me. Go and make that happen.